Guitar tips, man. Just the tips, just for you. Guitar tips. Hello and welcome to Guitar Tips Pro. My name is Adam Levy, and Guitar Tips Pro is my weekly video blog series on Patreon. If this is your first episode, welcome, and if you are a regular here, welcome back. This week I want to talk about jazz comping in open position. And what got me thinking about this was a guitar lesson I taught last week to one of my students, one of my in real life students, and she was asking, she plays a lot of swing music and gypsy jazz, and she knows all these chord voicings up and down the neck that are really great for swing style accompaniment. But she felt like this stuff down here was still a blind spot for her, even though she knows a lot of voicings that maybe you don't even know, but hadn't, because she got into swing music and gypsy jazz, before she got into any kind of folk music or stuff like that. This was a not well developed area of the guitar for her, and I find this actually to be true with many of my jazz oriented students, and it even was a blind spot for me to some extent. I love jazz harmony on the guitar. And when you get into interesting chord voicings and such, the tendency is to learn things that are portable, like this is a C major 7 voicing. There's our C. The voicing is E, B, C, G. That's 3, 7, 1, 5. And there's no open strings playing right now, so this is a movable voicing. That's C major 7, that's D major 7, E flat major 7, and so on. And there's this tendency to think that the value of a chord is in how portable it is, and how much time you put in, how much time you spend on the guitar to make sure that you know it all over the neck, maybe even on some different string sets, like here's that same C major 7 voicing on other string sets. This is going to be a handful here. Anyway, that's all well and good. I don't mean this lesson to discourage that sort of study or those type of chords in any way. But if, like my students, you find that this is an area that you've neglected a little bit, I just wanted to take a tip time to look at it. So, one way to get to know the chords down here is just to get to know the basic, simple chords, kind of cowboy, campfire stuff. And if you don't know that stuff, well, gosh, maybe I'll save that for another tip. I'm assuming that most of you here are jazz oriented, so that's what I get from the people who write in and ask questions and stuff. So if you would like me to do a guitar tip on the really rudimentary, open position, no sevenths or ninths or anything like that, just the real basic stuff, let me know, and I would definitely consider that. But for now, what I want to talk about is jazz type of voicings, but down in this area. So we are going to use Autumn Leaves as our kind of vehicle for exploration. And what I've done is I've written out a PDF. I'm looking at it here on my music stand, and you will have it as a supporter on Patreon. You'll have this PDF as well. So the first part of it is Autumn Leaves in the key of G major. That's the key many people play it in. It's not the only key people play it in, but if you're reading it out of the real book, you will find that Autumn Leaves is in G major, or E minor, you could say. Um, so the chords are A minor 7, D7, G major 7, C major 7, F sharp minor 7, flat 5, B7, E minor. That's the first 8 bars. 2 bars of E minor at the end. So I'm going to play this out of time for now, and I'll just play. This is the A minor 7 voicing that's just right there. And I'm not going to play the roots on these for now. Maybe I'll come back around and play the roots in a moment. So A minor 7, D7, and you notice there's no actual 7 in there, but we just heard the C in the A minor 7 chord. Maybe it's still hanging in the air, maybe that's enough. And then G major 7 is here, and C major 7 is here, F sharp minor 7 flat 5. This voicing has no third. I wanted to have some color, and I wanted to include an open string, and yeah, most of these voicings have open strings. That's the whole point of playing an open position, is to exploit the open string. So if you're playing in a particular key in open position and going through chords, you have to leave stuff out, and at the same time I want to add stuff in that gives it color. So here's the first 8 bars now in time. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. And now I'll add the bass notes just so you can hear how that all would sound if you had a bass player. 2, 3, 4. And the next 8 bars, I would do the exact same voicings, except for that B7, the second time we come around in the second ending, I would make that E minor an E minor 6 with the C sharp. That's the 6th on the bottom. I do that just so that it's different from the last, than what you hear 8 bars earlier. We want to not have this feel too static. So we have, excuse me, that's the F sharp minor 7 flat 5, B7, E minor 6, and here it is with the bass if you want to hear that. And now this would be the bridge, and we're going to go into 5-part chords, a little more harmonic variety. That's F sharp minor 7 flat 5, B7 flat 9, and then this is an E minor 9 major 7 for 1 bar, and then E minor 6 for 1 bar. So we've got this motion, and then A minor 7, D7 sharp 5, that's the sharp 5 down here, and then G major 7. Even though I'm not playing a major 7, this is just a G6, but if you're looking at this chart as it is in the real book, this is where G major 7 would be. So this is for a bar, and then this is for a bar. And I'll let the D and the E on the outside ring out and just move the inside voices. When you have a chord for 2 bars, it's nice to do something to have some motion going, so that's what that is. And then F sharp minor 7 flat 5, B7. It says flat 9 in the real book, but I want to have an open string, so I'm using this voicing with the open B. I suppose you could do this, F sharp, C, B, A. That'd be all right. So you could go, but I liked the sound of this. And then there's now the next 4 chords are only 2 beats each. E minor 7, A7 or A9 specifically. That's an A9 voicing with no A in it. It's just 3, 7, 9, 5, and then so I'm going to play this last 8 bars in time. I think if I break it down too much, maybe you don't get to hear what the flow of it is. So here's the last 8 bars. 2, 3, 4. Excuse me. So now play the whole piece in time. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's the first A. Here's the second A. Same chords. New chord. E minor 6. Then I'll just put the bass for reference. Now. Okay, bridge 2, 3, 4. Excuse me, I keep messing up that one little spot. Yeah. Let's see, I'm still thinking about that choice. Now I kind of am liking that. You do as you like. So that's the main kind of thing that I wanted to show you, that you could play jazzy chords in a jazzy context and still be basically in kind of cowboy position. I want to mention a couple of specific things about the chord choices that I made. There were areas when I was working on this where I really wanted to put in some spicier voicings with alterations on the dominant chords and including the natural 9 on the minor 7 flat 5 chords. That's a sound that I like a lot. But I didn't do, in most places I didn't do that because I wanted to have comping chords. Remember, this would be comping, presuming behind the melody or behind a soloist who's familiar enough with the tune that they're referencing the melody even in their solo. And so sometimes chords that you know that are interesting and spicy and have cool tension in them, when you bring them into a specific tune, don't work so well. So for example, in the second measure on the D7, this is a very not colorful, or at least not tense D7 chord. It's got the natural 13, the 5, and the 3rd. And that's because the melody there is is those three notes, D, E, F sharp. On a D7 chord, that's the root, the 9, and the third. So you're not going to want to have the flat 9, the flat 9 or the sharp 9, because if you have a voicing with a flat 9 or sharp 9, that's going to really rub against the melody that's going D, E, F sharp. So E flat and F natural are not great choices. You could perhaps have a voicing with flat 5, D7 flat 5. But we don't have any open strings here. Maybe we could do this. It might be a choice. So we could go, and the melody, that's all right. There's other places I just want to point out throughout this arrangement where I made choices to not play the spiciest chords that I know, but instead be supportive of the melody, because that's something that you should be thinking about. So on the B7 chord in the first ending, again, I'm playing a not particular, there's really no color tones, it's just 3, 7, and root on the B7, and it's for the same reason the melody goes, that's what's happening there. So you could have the sharp 5 or flat 5, those would be interesting extensions there, but I wouldn't include sharp 9 or flat 9 for the reasons I said just a moment ago. And again, if you're limited by wanting to use open strings, kind of sort of trying to think about voice leading, think about the melody of the tune. It really limits your choices, and that can be a helpful thing. Instead of what are all the B7 voicings you know, the question becomes what are the B7 voicings you know that are in the first 5 frets, that include an open string, that don't conflict with the melody, and that have some relation to the chord that is before and after. So this seemed to be a good choice, coming from F sharp minor 7 flat 5 to B7 to E minor. If some other choice occurs to you, send me a note. I'd be curious to know. But this is what occurred to me. And as we get to the bridge, we do get into some other kinds of chords. The F sharp minor 7 flat 5 at the top of the bridge, this would be bar 17. If you're looking in the real book, there's no note in there that says this is the bridge, but it's measure 17. So now we have this chord for F sharp minor 7 flat 5. Excuse me. So that's the third, the root, the flat 5, and the 7. If you wanted to, you could include that B in there and have a really colorful 5-part chord. But I'm keeping it 4 parts, just so that there's a little bit of sameness. In this exercise, I did go back and forth between 3 and 4 parts, but I decided that 5 parts might be a little too much. But if that sounds good to you, that's cool. So here's the 4-part version. That's our B7 flat 9. Now here the flat 9 is a cool choice because it doesn't rub with the melody there. Now speaking of rubbing with the melody, I did make a choice to play this chord under the melody note there, which is I'm hoping that the third of the E minor down in this register would support at least where I would sing that tune, it's there. So this 9 should be way up above it. But if you have a high voice, you might find that that's gonna rub. If you don't like it, find another solution, but I like that sound. So on this D7 here, just before the G major 7, I'm still in the bridge here, I used a sharp 5. The melody notes in that bar are just D, D, C. So you could really have almost any kind of extension on that you like, and that's just the root and the flat 7 of a D7 chord. So 9, flat 9, sharp 9, flat 5, sharp 5, any of that stuff will be just fine. It won't conflict with the melody. I chose this voicing. You could choose this voicing or this voicing, which has flat 5 and flat 9, or sharp 5, flat 9, or sharp 5. Any of those would be fine. I went with this because it seemed to kind of belong with the kind of stuff that we've been doing so far. This is a G6 voicing. This is G6-9, I guess. This is straight up the chord F sharp minor 7 flat 5. And now the 5 is in the melody of this B7 flat 9 chord, so we wouldn't want to put a sharp 5 or flat 5. We could have a flat 9, but we don't get the open string that way. Or you could do this variation that I mentioned. And then E minor 9, the melody is B there, so the 9 on top is fine. And then this is an A9 chord, unaltered, because B, the 9 is in the melody. You might choose a voicing like that that's got the 9 on top and has a sharp 5. But as low as we are at the moment, it seemed like a good choice for where we are. But you can certainly experiment. Let's see if there's you could have a sharp 5 here, I guess. So it's kind of cool. So I'm playing C sharp, F, B, E, and I would think of that as like an A augmented with the 9 and then a high 5. That's kind of cool. And then D minor 7 is basically just an F triad with the E up top, so it makes it D minor 9. And this looks like an E7 chord, but I'm thinking of it as a G7, 3, 5, flat 9. And then the last, that's a B7 sharp 9, and then I move to the sharp 5 in the second half of the bar, because it, again, has to do with what the melody is doing. So this has already been a pretty lengthy lesson, but believe it or not, there is more. I want to talk about playing it in other keys in open position. So that's in the key of G or E minor. There's 4 other keys that lay pretty naturally in open position. G is one, C, A, D, and E are the other 4. That's caged if you count all 5 of them together. So I want to look at not the whole tune, but just the first 8 bars of Autumn Leaves in keys C, A, D, and E, using same kind of rules. Open position, open strings, not conflicting with the melody if we can help it. So first chord I chose in C, so it goes D minor 7, G7, C, F, B, E, A. First chord doesn't have an open string in it. No particular reason, I just grabbed a familiar D minor 7 voicing. You could certainly replace it with that's with open G in the middle or open D on the bottom, but I'll leave it as is for now. And then this is G7 flat 5, and that's not going to be a problem with the melody there. And this is our C major 7 voicing, and this is our F major 7 voicing. This is B minor 7 flat 5. This is E7. and A minor with a 9 in it. So now I'll put bass notes under all that, and you can hear what that would sound like with the bass. So on the E7, there's a sharp 9 in there. That's kind of cool. It might conflict with the melody, but I just liked it enough to take that chance. Okay. Here it is in A major. I'll play these examples. So just to get that in your ear. So A major, F sharp minor. So here's the voicings. Excuse me. So on the G sharp, if you hear it with the bass, I think it'll make more sense. So this is G sharp minor 7 flat 5. Sorry. It's a hot day here in Los Angeles. My strings are moving around. So that's a G sharp minor 7 flat 5 with the 11 in it, and really no flat 5 sounding, but implied. And then that's the C sharp 7, and then F sharp minor with the open 11. So here it is with the bass notes under it. So that's an E7 with a sharp 5, A major 9, D major 9, G sharp minor 7, add 11, I guess you'd say, C sharp 7, F sharp minor. Okay. Moving on, key of D. So here's these voicings. E minor 7, A7, that's got a sharp 5 in it, D major 9, that same 4-part voicing, G major 7, C major 7, F sharp 7, add 4, yeah, and then B minor with the 11 on top, B minor 7 with the 11 on top. So here's those same voicings with bass notes. Excuse me. And our last open position key is E. So here's these voicings. There we go. That's the G sharp 7 with the flat 5 in it, and then C sharp minor, add 9. So I don't know if I can play all these with bass notes, but I'm going to try. Let's see. This one has already got the bass note in it. That G sharp 7 is kind of, there weren't a lot of options that followed all the rules that I've been talking about. So the only open string I could get in there that really made any sense was the D, which is the flat 5. So I've got the third and the seven of the G sharp seven and the flat five, and then I made this last chord a four-part chord because I felt like that D wanted to go somewhere, so I let it go to C sharp. And the so that's the kind of crux of the biscuit of playing in open position. Um, I'll say it again because you know me. Why not say it again? Use open strings where you can. Don't betray the melody. Stay in the first 5 frets. I've bent all these rules a little bit on my own here, and you may do that too, but see how far you can get with keeping the rules, keeping to the rules. I wanted to show you one other thing, which is that open position isn't only for typical open position keys like C, G, and so on. So I did 8 bars in the key of B flat. A lot of people play Autumn Leaves in the key of B flat. So I wanted to see if I could come up with some voicings in that key that followed all these rules. So C minor 7 is this. Oh, let me just play a little bit to put it in here, because we haven't had any really flat keys so far in this lesson, so that sounded really wild. That's the C minor 7 voicing. That's F7. It's got a 9 and a flat 13 or sharp 5, and then the 7. And then that's our B flat major 7 voicing. It's really people would call that B flat 6-9. And then for E flat, I'm playing this, which would be E flat major 9. And then A minor 7 flat 5. So it's got the flat 5, but it's also got the flat 6 down here. And then D7 add 4. I didn't want to get crazy with ninths or alterations because that's the melody here. So sometimes when you have a D7 or any kind of dominant chord and you want some color but you don't want to get into alterations, try having the 3 and the 4 rubbing together. Excuse me. There we go. I mean, that's kind of a similar effect to a flat 9 chord, right? It's stuff a half step apart. Anyway, that was the choice there. And then for G minor, I ended on a G minor 6 chord. So here's all that in time. 2, 3, 4. And I'll try and do it with some bass notes if I can. So let's see. So thinking too much here. Oof. I'm either thinking too much or not enough. I'm not sure. Anyway, wow. So this lesson is a handful. No pun intended. Take your time with it. If you have questions about it, that's good. Questions are good. You can comment here within Patreon. And that's always better than just sending me an email, because if you have a question about something in the lesson, let's share it with the community. Let's work it out together. Okay. For Guitar Tips Pro, I'm Adam Levy. Stay tuned and take good care.